Okay, great. I think we're still in practice session. So I'm going to start the webinar. Okay, great. Okay, perfect. Great. So folks should be able to join now, and I do see some attendees starting to kind of populate the webinar. It's 8:34. We'll give folks probably 2 minutes this morning and start just a minute late at 8:36. My name is Kristen Nevedal. I'm the director of the Mendocino County Cannabis Department. We do have a couple staff persons with us here today. Nina Holloway is helping us with the stream and the webinar, and William Riley, our program administrator, has also joined as a presenter this morning. So welcome everyone. Take the next couple of minutes to get settled in. We did send out a very late Canon note this morning, but it does include the presentation. I do believe the links are active if you want to follow along from that presentation. But you'll also have it as a resource. Hopefully it's a resource for you. So let's just give folks one more minute and then we will move forward with kicking off the presentation. Okay. All right, we're almost there. It's 8:36. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's see here. I have two devices, so I apologize. Moving forward with the agenda. Thanks everyone for joining us today. It's 8:36. We're a minute behind schedule, but I think we're all settled in and we can begin to move forward with the presentation. It's going to be a little more fluid today. We have very brief updates. Probably won't even take us to the 8:40 mark, but may. And then we're going to really look at the updated website for the portal, 30-day corrections portal page. This does include an updated phase 1 and phase 2 application checklist. We'll link through it from the site together. And then, sorry for my phone. I apologize, turning both of those off. Sorry about that. We will link through to the application checklist and then we'll walk through the materials. We'll close walking through those materials with reviewing the information that we've updated on that checklist in regards to contiguous expansion affidavit. I do think that this will have plenty of time for this, and we'll make some time available as we walk through that checklist to answer questions and have some communication about the updates we've made. So we won't do just a lump public comment. We'll break it up throughout the course of the meeting to have some conversation about what's on the checklist, why we chose the language we chose, and what the process has been for updating that checklist. There are no new items on the checklist. It really is an effort to clarify and respond to what we've heard from applicants and agents and members of the public about the checklist being somewhat confusing. So we will make time to have some discussion about that checklist as we go through it. So moving on to updates. You guys might be sick of this, but as always, we're going to give you a little overview about how to participate in today's meeting. Reminder, there's a Q&A chat feature, and no, we have not been getting through all of the questions in the chat. And yes, we do want to acknowledge that folks would like us to spend some time reviewing those questions and responding to them. We might have to just put a meeting together to do that. So we're looking at that and haven't quite figured out the best way to manage that, but we are hearing that comment. The Q&A feature, for those of you unfamiliar with the Zoom platform, you will be able to find that in your toolbar, generally at the bottom or the top of your screen. It says Q&A and has a little chat box. Just click on the icon. It'll pop open a separate window for you to type your questions or your comments into. When you send those questions or comments, they come to our panelists. They do not go to everyone who has joined the webinar today. So your comments come directly to us. When we do get to time for public comment, folks, please do raise your hand when you are ready to make a comment. You can raise your hand on the Zoom platform by using the raise hand feature. It's a little hand feature that is located in either the toolbar at the bottom of your screen or the top of your screen. If you're calling into the meeting today and not on the Zoom app or platform, you can use *9 to raise your hand. We will repeat this information when we get ready for public comment. So don't worry if you didn't write it down or get a screenshot. We will remind you how to use those features when we get to that point in the meeting. As always, we've got some important dates. We did get out our notifications for the 30-day corrections portal. So notifications of eligibility went out. The last few went out on February 28th. We have received a couple of inquiries from applicants who were eligible, who did not receive a notification. I think we sent out over 400 notifications. I think that's on the next slide, so we'll wait. I'll give you the number in a minute here. But we sent out a heck of a lot of notifications, and human error does occur. So if you did not receive an eligibility notification and you feel that there was an error or you have questions, please do email cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org. I should have taken the February 4th weekly meeting off of here. We all already did that one. Today is the March 4th meeting. We already did that one. Today is the March 11th weekly meeting. So heads up for next week. On March 16th, that's Wednesday from 3:30 to 5, we'll be having our monthly local equity entrepreneur meeting. On March 18th, we'll be having our weekly meeting. That meeting is likely going to focus on the local equity policy manual, which we have been diligently working on updating. So we have it out with the state currently and with county council for review and consideration. We're hoping to bring our recommended changes back for discussion on March 18th. I think we'll be able to manage that, but that's what we're planning right now. March 23rd and April 19th, the Department of Cannabis Control will be hosting public meetings. They do have a set of proposed regulations that you can find on their website at cannabis.ca.gov. Those proposed regulations have an open 45-day comment period. Public comment can be submitted via email, via snail mail, or at either of these public meetings, the March 23rd public meeting or the April 19th public meeting. And I do believe that April 19th is the last day for public comments regarding the draft permanent regulations to be submitted to the Department of Cannabis Control. Couple other important dates in March. The 30-day corrections portal opens on March 28th. That portal will open at 12:01 a.m. It's an automated opening, so you should have access to it sharply at 12:01 a.m. It will close on April 28th. It's an automated closing and will close at 11:59 p.m. on April 28th. Portal statistics. So not quite 400. We sent out 316 eligibility notices. Each of these was an individual send. So as I mentioned earlier, if you feel like you should have been eligible for the portal, did not receive a notice for the portal, have questions about the portal, please do email us, cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org. And Ms. Nelson is ahead of us on the website, I see. We are going to talk about what's on the website, but yes, Hannah, we will publish an updated portal list. I'm hoping to wrap that up this weekend, but it's a pretty tedious task. So we will talk about that when we get to the website, but that is forthcoming. I agree with you. It is dated. Going on to our next slide. Let's talk about this portal application system. So a couple of things that are important for everyone to know is that if for some reason you no longer have access to the portal login, portal account that was made for you perhaps by an agent that maybe you're no longer working with, or you made it yourself, and you're like, what the heck did I do with that password? And now I can't get into it, and now I can't figure it out, right? So if for any reason you no longer have access to your original portal, you can currently make a new portal account. I don't encourage this unless they absolutely have to do it, but we have received emails from some folks who are no longer with the agent who started the account, or for one reason or another don't have access to their original portal account. So I want folks to be aware that on the website in the 30-day corrections portal access section, and we'll go look at it on the website in just a moment here together, is this language that says 30-day corrections portal users can register and or log into the cannabis reapplication system by clicking this link. That link is active. So if you need further instructions, email us. But if you are one of those folks who no longer has access, you can use the link that's on the website currently to establish a new portal account. We do ask that once you establish a new portal account, because it might be your only option for utilizing the corrections portal, please do contact us so that we can work with you to determine whether or not materials need to be transferred from an original account to the new account. And also so that we know for sure which account to open for you when the corrections portal opens. So just for some further explanation and a little imagery, we won't be flipping the switch, so to speak, on the back end of the portal, opening all applications. We're keeping complete applications and ineligible applications locked. So we'll be specifically opening eligible applicants for the corrections portal. So again, if you make a new account, we'll want to know which account we're utilizing to open your corrections portal. So it's really important that you communicate with us if for some reason you are establishing a new account in that portal, okay? The best email, best way to contact us, best way to ask questions is to use cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org. I also want to say that we moved the live stream videos from the original portal, July 21st and July 28th, up to the top of the website. We'll look at that in a minute too. I want to remind everyone that those videos do walk you through how to set up a portal account, how to navigate once you're in the portal. They show you how you can navigate between your application inputs, the questionnaire page, the upload page, the FAQs are accessible right in the portal. So with that said, please do utilize those videos if you're having any challenges with navigating that portal. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get into the portal page itself. So if you click on the link here, and it may take forever to load, you're going to get the portal website page. Let's make it as large as we can, and hopefully it's large enough for folks to see it on their screens. But we did put up the open and close date, the times, the date that we updated the 30-day corrections portal. The same review language and information that was in the eligibility letter, which we've also discussed on at least one Friday meeting. 30-day noticing, we did send these notices out the 25th, the 26th, the 27th, and the 28th. The access link is here. So if you do need to get into the portal, you can click here and set up a user account. Okay. So all of that is live. What you can't do currently in the portal is you can't go in and work on an application. So that's the part that's not live, but you can still set up an account should you need to do that. We moved up the resources. We will update this portal list here. Like I said, it has not been updated for quite some time, as noted earlier in the presentation, but we will get it updated. We'll make sure that we update the date so everyone knows that it's been updated, and then we'll be providing additional information here. The FAQ has not been updated, but is still a tremendous resource. I haven't looked through it with a thoughtful lens to see if we want to update it yet, but it still has a tremendous amount of information. And I do recommend it if you are working through the questionnaire page and you have questions about how to navigate the answers on the questionnaire page. The FAQ does have a lot of that information in it. So let's go ahead and look at this portal submissions checklist. You can link through just like I did from the website. This is for applicants to use. We have no expectation that this will be turned in. So this information up here, there's no need to fill it out. We put these boxes here, so if you wanted to print it or use it electronically as a checklist, you could, right? So it's really, and we aren't expecting these back. It's a tool that's available for folks to utilize, and that's what it's about. Everywhere you see these headings that are in blue, we've linked to where you can find that information. So the forms don't link directly to the forms themselves. They link to our forms page. And so you should be able to find everything here. Cannabis cultivation application, look, we did an update. Phase 2 and Phase 3 applications are currently being accepted. That is true and correct, and we'll be getting more Phase 3 information out to the public soon. But we also have a web page to write about that. So you can use the combination of the checklist and the application materials on the forms page to apply for your Phase 3 application. And no, Munis is not updated yet. We are still waiting for that to happen. So we don't have the Phase 3 information up and available yet. So I apologize. There's still no access to that code on the website. Going back to the portal, let's go back to this checklist here as we link back and forth. So this cannabis permit application link takes you to the forms page, as does the cult and ops plan link, agent form link, structures list link, site plan link, employee list, et cetera, et cetera. The Mendocino County live scan link takes you back to the forms page where you can find the live scan form. The live scan form is helpful because it does have the agency information filled in. So again, we won't accept live scans that have the information being directed to California Department of Food and Agriculture or the Bureau of Cannabis Control. It has to be specific to the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office. So if you have any questions, just click through, go to the live scan form on the forms page, and then make sure that your information matches what's in those agency sections, because we only accept the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office version. Okay, so not a lot of updates in these sections other than we went through and updated the links. We went through and changed from California Department of Food and Agriculture to Department of Cannabis Control. Simply a name change, no different information. We did add this link, which will take you through to the application page. So if you don't have your Department of Cannabis Control cultivation application submitted, you will need to do so or want to do so before the end of March to make sure that you are eligible for a provisional license if you do not currently hold one. So you can use this link to go through and make that application happen. Fish and Wildlife, we added a link here with lake and stream bed alteration agreement. So this will take you through to their permitting page if you have questions. We also cleaned up this language a bit here for the lake and stream bed alteration agreement, and it mirrors what's in state regulations. We have a sneaking suspicion that if we can keep our nomenclature consistent with the state, it may be helpful for the applicants and the agents. So we're really trying to hopefully synchronize with what the state is asking for, so it's easier for folks to understand what we're asking for, and potentially vice versa. But this is not a change to what's required. It is a clarifying language that we hope will make it easier for folks submitting information. Okay. State Water Resource Control Board, notice of applicability page link has been added. We did clarify this language, so we're asking folks to submit a valid notice of applicability or notice of exemption. If your notice of applicability is more than 12 months old, you must also submit the most recently submitted water monitoring report. You'll be combining those into a single PDF and uploading them together in the notice of applicability section. This was a big outstanding question the last round, so we've put this language in here to try to clarify it. We're going to go through a couple more things, and then we'll answer some questions on the items. So bear with me here. State Water Resource Control Board Small Irrigation Use Registration. We are clearly asking that applicants submit the following documentation: a valid SIUR for each surface water diversion used for cannabis irrigation, or proof of application for an SIUR for each surface water diversion used for cannabis irrigation, or a letter from the State Water Resource Control Board's Division of Water Rights stating that a small irrigation use registration is not required for the project. Okay, this language mirrors what is in the state requirements. We're just trying to clarify that because that was also a bit of a pain point for folks coming through the original portal. No new language in the appropriative water right that I recall. And then I apologize for not pointing it out earlier. We did make some effort to put the sections for 10A17 and in some places from the state to assist folks with hopefully working through providing these materials. And I'm sorry, I don't know why my cursor is being hyper. My apologies there. So before we go on to the next section, which I'm sure we'll have additional questions about, I think what we should do is pause for a moment and see if there's questions about the information that we just discussed in relationship to the checklist. I know it's probably a lot to bite off, so I think having different breaks to have some discussion will be helpful. So with that said, if anyone has questions they would like to ask currently, would you be so kind as to raise your hands? I do see a couple hands raised. Again, if you are utilizing a telephone device, you're calling in and not using the Zoom app, you'll want to use *9 to raise your hand. *9 will also be the feature to lower your hand. I do see a few callers. First in line, we'll have Michael Katz. followed by Paul Hansberry, and then David Perkins. So again, please do raise your hand if you would like to participate in the conversation for the items we just presented. And then we will move on momentarily. First caller, Michael Katz, I have allowed you to speak. You should be able to unmute and start your comment.
Great, thanks so much. And thanks for the meetings, really useful. I have two questions. One is going back to a little bit earlier in the presentation. It's what I was gathering was that of the 529 operators that were listed on the slide initially who were eligible to go back into the reopen portal, it sounded like there were only 316 eligibility notices that have been sent out. So I was wondering if you could provide clarity on those 200 notices that were not sent out as to what may have happened and why they did not receive eligibility notices. Obviously, you said some may have been in error, but I would just curious. It's a lot of notices that did not go out. And then regarding phase 3, how is it that the department is actually able to receive applications for for phase 3 when the regulations are actually not currently published? Like logistically, how is that possible? Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Michael. Let me go back and walk you through these numbers really quick. So we're going to just drop the timer for a minute and we're going to shrink down this page. And I'm going to flip through these slides, so hopefully they aren't too annoying to flip through. We did have 304 complete applications. 140 of those or 41 were pre-portal in good standing. We have 316 folks that are eligible, but we did take 34 people out of the eligibility list from the portal because we're working through veg mods. The veg modification letters we've been peer reviewing, so it's taking us a little time to get through them, but we're doing our reviews of the materials presented or provided by applicants with all of the planners and myself together. So we're talking through them. It's going a little slow. We do have some folks that will be able to be put back into the portal because they are not in violation of the species clearing prohibition. That will bring the 316 up a little bit, but we're just getting notifications out to folks who are going to be able to move forward from the veg mod. And then we have a lot of questions that will still go back and forth with folks who are in this group. We have this 130 number here is notable. So there's 130 folks that we're prepping denial letters for. These folks did not respond to the portal at all. And so we did do a number of notifications to folks about the portal. So these are folks that were assigned to the portal that have not responded to the portal at all. There are a handful of folks, or just over 2 handfuls of folks here, maybe 3 handfuls of folks, I guess we should say, who are slated for denial. These are folks who applied through the portal, yet do not have original applicants, and or have other compliance issues that we do not believe can be remedied. So we do have these denials in the queue as well, which will make for 146 denials coming through the portal. I do believe that probably addresses your numbers. 146 plus 34 should catch us up to our total numbers. We've done and redone the math here. There's also this number of withdrawn applications. We did see a number of applications withdrawn through the portal, mostly nurseries that folks had signed up for an application on, but then don't necessarily have the application materials. They might not know where they're locating that nursery, so there's no nursery on a site plan. They might not know what activities they're going to conduct, so we just keep getting cultivation application materials. So some folks have opted to withdraw these nurseries because A, they aren't in use, and B, they're a taxable obligation having this application open. So I think that answers those numbers. The second question that Michael presented or brought forward this morning was in relationship to how phase 3, right? How can we accept phase 3 applications when the phase 3 information is not available in the ordinance yet. We were directed by county council. The moratorium has expired. There's nothing that keeps us from accepting phase 3 applications. So because we legally have no ability to not accept phase 3 applications, we are accepting phase 3 applications. We do request, and we're working on getting a webpage up about phase 3, but we do request that for those interested in phase 3, that you complete your application and then email, not the application materials, but email cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org to receive instructions on how to submit your application materials and pay for the application fee. We are wrapping up a phase 3 application portal. We are hoping that by the time phase 3 applicants have complete application packets, we'll be able to direct them to a phase 3 portal by which they'll be able to upload all application materials and electronically pay for that application. But we may have to have some paper applications come in and or set up some drop boxes with folks if there are applications that are complete that need to come in between now and us getting that phase 3 portal up and going. Okay. I think with that said, we can look at who is in our queue for comments. Give me just a minute. We're going to go to Paul Hansberry next, followed by David Perkins, and then Julia Carrera. Paul, I have gone ahead and given you permission to speak. And so when you're ready, you should be able to unmute and start your comment.
Yes, hi, thank you very much. Kristen, we're really happy that you're there and championing for the legacy farmers, the heritage farmers. There's a couple of things. One is a relatively minor thing. I'm wondering, I know that a lot of things happened before you got there, and it's your job or that's your intention to try to help to clarify and rectify situations. And thank you for all the work you do. One question is, why is there a requirement for duplicative live scans? It's the same information that's going to the state, is going to the sheriff's office, and why is this duplicative thing still on the books? I noticed that you're sending that you're accepting phase 3 applications, but is there a time frame as to when you're going to be starting to review them? You can accept the application and they can pay for them, but are they going to be reviewed in a timely manner? Or do we have to wait until, well, whenever? Can you address that? And I'm also wondering if there's any cannabis items that are going to be on the agenda for Tuesday's Board of Supervisors meeting, because the agenda hasn't been posted yet on the website. Thanks very much for all your hard work, and thank you for the ability to let us talk.
All right, thanks for all of that, Paul. I'll try to get back. I'll try to answer your questions here. So review timeline for phase 3. Well, phase 1 and phase 2 is a priority. So we will be focusing on phase 1 and phase 2 before we get to phase 3. And we are diligently staffing up. So we got great news this week that our desks shipped. That's pretty exciting. For those of you who haven't been through the department, I have some staff working on folding tables. So we have desks coming, so we're excited about that. We're working with facilities to figure out our spacing, and we'll be meeting together as staff to look at onboarding new planner techs, planner 1s, and planner 2s. It makes me really happy. It's like Christmas for the department. So once we get staffed up, we'll have a training period. Our RFQ is still being processed by the county, but again, we're looking at contract folks. We'll be throwing our resources at phase 1 and phase 2 applications primarily. And then we'll be filtering in phase 3 applications as they wrap up and they're complete. as we can. I don't know exactly what that flow looks like yet because, again, we don't have the staff to manage it, but we are incredibly optimistic. And I know that that's not really comforting to some of you, but it's about the best I can do right now is be optimistic and say, thank goodness we had about 50 people to interview that were qualified to interview for 8 positions. And we're just thrilled by the candidates that came forward. Duplicative requirements with the live scans. My apologies, I lost my words there for a minute. Duplicative requirements for the live scans. I can't really speak to that. I know that there are the way the agency's information comes forward. If you don't fill out the Mendocino County Sheriff's Department, the information doesn't come to the Sheriff's Department, and then that information is part of what is considered when we do the background checks, which are required in the ordinance. So those pieces tie together. So while it feels duplicative, it's part of us fulfilling the background check requirements that have been put forward in the ordinance. So I think I hit both of your questions, and I apologize if I didn't. We're going to go ahead and go to our next speaker, who will be Dave Perkins, followed by Julia, and then Ron Edwards. So Dave, you should be able to go ahead. Oops, hold on a second. Okay, now we've got you. Dave, you should be able to unmute your device and start your comment.
All right, yes, thank you for taking my questions. I do have questions that are sort of unrelated to the phase 3. Would now be the time to ask those questions?
They're related to phase 3 or unrelated to phase 3? What are they?
Unrelated to phase 3.
Well, we're really talking about the portal checklist. Do you have any questions regarding the portal checklist? And it's your 2 minutes, so you can use it as you need it. I might be able to answer your questions, and I might not be able to. So go ahead.
Yeah, so they're unrelated to phase or to the portal. They're related to increasing a permit size or increasing a permit from one size to another. And I'm just wondering if in phase 3, if I have a phase 1 permit and my property allows for a larger permit, if I would be able to apply for that larger permit in phase 3, or if it's kind of what's the process for doing that?
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the timer, and I can answer that question for you. So if you are currently in the program and you have a permit, I do need to get the modification application up. Still working on that. My apologies there. But you can modify your issued permit by contacting cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org. And then we can go ahead and work with the applicant to see if A, that parcel qualifies for a modification and increased permit size, and B, make sure that we gather the application materials necessary if the parcel does qualify for increased cultivation area. There's no need to, if you're a phase 1 applicant, to reapply for additional cultivation through phase 3. So hopefully that helps. But we'll, again, try to answer these questions as we get a page up. So we have a couple more callers with questions. We're going to go to Julia next, followed by a caller with a phone number ending in 8120, followed by Monique Ramirez. So Julia, you should be able to unmute your device and start your comment.
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you again for holding these very important meetings that allow communication between the department, applicants, and licensees. My question is regarding vegetation modification letters. When for those that had to ask for an extension due to their licensed professional being out of town, when do we hear about those extensions being granted? It's, I think, 10 days away that they're going to be coming back. And I know the applicants are very anxious to understand what's happening. If you could address that, please. And thank you again. And congratulations on the new hires and staffing up and the desks and hopefully the new office space. And I'm really happy for you guys.
Thanks so much for that. Appreciate that, Julia. So VegMod letters, as I mentioned, we've been reviewing all of the information that applicants and their agents have been sending us in a peer review format. Those of you who have been working with or were assigned to Nick, he's been out of town for a week. Julia, I think your letter is in the Nick pile. I apologize. We'll all be meeting this afternoon. I thought we had addressed all requests for extension, but you must have gotten stuck in the Nick folder. I apologize. We'll be reviewing VegMods from 3 to 5 today. So I would imagine more communications will come out this afternoon throughout the course of that meeting or just after. But we'll try to communicate with you as soon as we get out of that meeting this afternoon. And again, it's a interesting a process right now because we're all learning the process as we go, applicants and staff alike, which is why we are peer reviewing all materials currently. So it'll be our 4th meeting today on these topics. Okay, our next caller is phone number ending in 8120, followed by Monique Ramirez, and then Corinne Powell. So caller 8120 just dropped off. So Monique, it looks like, oh, I'm sorry, caller 8120, I see you there. So caller 8120, you should be able to unmute your telephone device and go ahead and start your comment. Caller ending in 8120, would you like to go ahead and make a comment? You should be able to unmute your device. Okay. Looks like maybe no comment for that one anymore. So our next caller is going to be Monique Ramirez. Monique, you should be able to go ahead and unmute your device and start your comment.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I just wondered, I kind of came in a little late, but I'm curious if you covered for people that do have to go back into the portal when the thing is unlocked, if they have to resubmit all of their documents or just the things that they had to make corrections on. And my other question, just because you touched on the phase 3 opening, is if anybody has actually applied yet that you know of or inquired about it. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks for those questions. Great question about the portal. Thank you so much for bringing it up because we had not covered it. When you come into the corrections portal, please only submit documents that are deficient that you're correcting, unless, of course, correcting, this is an example, a site plan to show the correct amount of water tanks requires you to update your Colton Ops plan so that they match, right? So, but please, all of your materials will be in that file. So unless you have to make a correction, please do not change materials in your portal account. So there's that one. And then no one has submitted a phase 3 application. We get questions. It's definitely not a most frequently asked question. And so as of right now, no one has submitted a portal application. So we are going to go to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Corinne Powell, followed by Jean-Luc. And then I do want to just make a note that we have a lot of material to get through. So let's not get too stuck in this Q&A session so we can get through the materials today and talk about all of it. Okay, so Corinne, you should be able to unmute your device and start your comment.
Thank you, Kristen, for the meeting and our opportunities. This is a quickie. In your prioritization list of phase 1, phase 2, and then potentially phase 3, review in terms of what staff can process, where in that priority list are you placing Appendix G applications? And when do you think we will have a little more understanding of how to proceed with Appendix Gs? Thank you.
All right, thanks for that. frankly, we're hoping to mix Appendix G's in with everything else, to be honest with you. So right now, we're going to be staffing up, as I mentioned, and when we get contract staff, in addition to hiring full-time staff, contract staff will start to get application materials for review, in good standing application materials for review, renewals, and hopefully Appendix G's with those renewals for review. It would be nice to couple those together as much as we can, so we're only opening the file at one time. Needless to say, we'll be peeling off egg zoned parcels is our plan, and rural residential parcels, and filtering those over to our contract support planners, and then keeping the other zonings in-house. We are putting timestamps on our spreadsheet. So folks, as you complete your portal entry or your portal application, you're getting timestamped. That submission that was deemed complete is timestamped and noted on our internal tracking spreadsheet. So we'll work through the folks who are in good standing renewals and Appendix G's we have in-house before we start diligently working through applications that were completed via the portal. So we are trying to still get through materials in the order that they've been received, so to speak, and doing our best with that. But again, I can't really give a timeline until we get staff in-house because I don't know. We're looking at setting up some efficiency programs too, where we pair planner techs with more experienced planners on our team so that they can act as support people, package some of the materials, say potentially for referral, so on and so forth. So we'll be also creating some teams. It's just going to take us a little bit of time to get to that place. We are not going to hear repeat comments in this section. So because we do have a tremendous amount of material to get through, and I want to make sure that we are able to do that today. So with that said, we'll hear from John Luke and then Hannah Nelson, and then we'll go back to our presentation. So Jean-Luc, I have given you permission to speak, so you should be able to unmute your device and begin your comment.
Great. Thanks so much, Kristen. Thanks for having these Friday meetings. This is a really, hopefully a really quick technical question about the portal. So I take it that the SIUR information that you need, if one is not needed, we'd need to request from DWR such a letter, because what we've submitted in the past are the notice of receipts for SIUR that the State Water Board sends us that say one's not needed. But I think those have been bounced back. Am I reading that right?
We have not bounced those back. We are looking for that letter. So if you already have received one, you don't need to apply for a new one. Just give us the notice that the project does not require an SIUR. If you don't have that letter already, the link to the DWR to receive that letter is in the checklist.
Just for clarification, yeah, on all the projects we do have them, but they're not a letter issued by DWR. They're actually one of the pages from the State Water Board that comes back whenever you do your initial.
I'm familiar with it, and we have been accepting those.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yes. So if you already have a statement from the State Water Resource Control Board stating that SIUR is not needed for your project, we will take that letter. Yes.
Thank you very much, Kristen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next speaker and last speaker for this section is going to be Hannah Nelson. Hannah, you should be able to unmute your device and begin your comment.
Thank you so much, Kristen. A couple of quick questions and then a couple of practice tips for people that might be helpful. And I apologize if it's in the wrong section of your presentation. Can you discuss modification fees and the distinction between when somebody might need to pay a modification fee for changing something on their site plan, for example, and when they would not? And then are you going to warn phase 3 applicants on the website that they are kind of going to be processed after the existing applications so that the fees are not taken if somebody didn't realize that it would take, that they're behind that queue? As well as perhaps a warning about Board of Supervisors' intention to potentially change the ordinance and some of the requirements. And then 2 little practice tips with respect to the checklist items. Ponds, besides if they were built before 1974, could potentially be exempt from a permit if you submit a exemption permit application to PBS. It's a specific packet for ponds. And then the NOR, notice of receipt, that people got when they applied for the general order and SIUR portal. They get 2 notice of receipts. One is potentially the one that says none is needed, no SIUR is needed, and the other is just that their discharge order thing is being processed. So people should distinguish between those notice of receipts. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Hannah. And just a point of clarification. If your pond was built prior to January 1st of 1974, what you would want to submit, right, to show that is an assessor's parcel record, because there was no permitting available for ponds prior to January 1st of 1974. We do not require you to go get a pond exemption for that pond if it was built prior to January 1st of 1974. So you wouldn't have to do that. Just make sure you provide, instead of the pond permit, because you won't have one if your pond predates January 1st of 1974, the assessor's parcel record showing that the pond was in existence prior to January 1st of 1974. So let's go back to our presentation. I'm going to reopen the checklist just so I don't have to scramble from tab to tab. So we'll reopen it. We'll make it larger because gosh knows I can't see it at that size. So I wouldn't expect anyone else to be able to do it. And we left off with the State Water Resource Control Board page on page 3. This is going to be a big topic here. We did update the language for the will serve letters, and we had tons of confusion about this. And I know that we'll probably have follow-up conversations and questions about this item. Will serve letters have been kind of elusive unicorn, so to speak, for applicants and for the department, frankly, in looking through what should be supplied for a will serve letter. If you are using a municipal water source or you're hauling water, you have to declare that not only with the cannabis program or the department, but also with the state. So we just felt like it was easier to use the state's requirements. As much as we possibly can, we want to make sure that the requirements are aligned so applicants aren't scrambling to put together or having to put together materials for the cannabis department locally and then different materials to fulfill the same application need at the state level. So we're really doing our best to try to align. So once you package the materials for us, you got it for the state. But if you package it for the state, you'll have it for us, is what we're hoping here. So we added the language in from the state regulations to try to really make this a simpler process for folks. So if you are utilizing a municipal retail water supplier, we're going to ask that you combine the following information into one PDF and submit it: the name of the retail water supplier and the copy of the most recent water service bill. If you are using a water delivery service at any point in the year and that water delivery service is sourcing water from a surface water body or an underground stream flowing in a known and definite channel, you will want to provide the following information as one PDF: the name of the retail water supplier under contract, the water source and geographical location coordinates, the authorized place of use of any water right used by the retail water supplier, the maximum amount of water delivered to your commercial cannabis site, for any given year, a copy of your most recent water service bill, and Mendocino issues business license numbers to the water hauler. So you'll want to also include that business license number. The same information is required in large part if you are receiving retail water delivery service and your delivery provider is gathering or acquiring groundwater from a well. There's a little more information in here. So in addition to the other items, the name of the retail water supplier, the location of the well or the water source itself, you'll also still include the maximum amount of water delivered in any year. And then you'll want to provide a copy of the well completion report for that well, a copy of your most recent water service bill, and the business license number of the retail water delivery service. You have to supply this information to the state to use any of these types of water sources. So hopefully if folks are utilizing municipal water and or delivered water, you've already gathered this information. We realize that this is potentially elevated information. We'll work with people in the corrections portal and folks who have come through the portal to complete these materials, because we will need them completed to ensure that you have the materials or the information necessary for us to ensure that or be reasonably assured that the delivery service that you're utilizing or municipal water service does qualify as a legal water source. I want to go on to just a couple more things before we pause again. We're going to have to be very mindful about time here. We talked about the pond permit. I apologize that we didn't put the date in here. It just seemed like it was going to get confusing for people. So we did not include the date. We have the well permit. We changed the language slightly to acknowledge the accessor parcel record showing the approximate date of installation. So it's a little clearer that if you don't have a permit, we do expect the accessor's parcel record. The well completion report, as previously noted, has been updated. The State Water Resource Control Board, Department of Water Resources is a division of the State Water Resource Control Board. So that well completion report, if it's coming from the water boards, it doesn't specifically say DWR, we will still accept that. We know early ones don't have the DWR language on them. Mendocino County Air Quality Management District form, same language here. We did update just to say that if you have your burn permit, if it's required, you can turn it in with your district form as a single PDF. And then let's talk quickly about this continuous expansion affidavit language. We did some serious updates here, all in an effort to try to provide the clarity that a lot of folks have asked about. So quickly, if you're an applicant who has expanded and or reconfigured your cultivation area and it qualifies for a continuous expansion affidavit because that expansion or reconfiguration is within 200 feet of the original site, you can submit an executed affidavit in the supporting materials. But please note that not only will you need to submit your affidavit, but also for all affidavits submitted, we are expecting a completed SSHQ, which is the Sensitive Species Habitat Questionnaire. And then if you have a generator or machinery that has internal combustion engine, you'll want to also submit a Sensitive Species Habitat Questionnaire, generator and machinery noise plan. You'll also, if you are utilizing security lighting, supplemental lighting of any type, artificial lighting of any type, you'll be subject to submitting an artificial light management plan. And if you have a pond on your parcel where your cultivation site is located, regardless of whether or not you are utilizing that pond as an irrigation source, you will be required to submit a bullfrog management plan. Now, we updated some language here to try to make life a little bit easier for everyone. The Sensitive Species Habitat Questionnaire is still linked here in the forms page. And then we updated the description for these plans, these performance management plans. to mirror what is in the Exhibit A, right, which is the checklist we use internally when we are reviewing the sensitive species habitat information you've provided us. So, for example, the sensitive species questionnaire, generator, and machinery noise management plan, if the applicant will be utilizing a generator to support the cultivation operations, a generator noise plan must be submitted, and really showing that the noise generated or any portion of the project shall not exceed 50 decibels when measured from 100 feet away from the generator or the machinery while it's running. This includes, but is not limited to, projects using a generator for any purpose, motorized trimming machines, fans, ventilation systems, and other machinery. The management plan should include information on containment structures and a plan for demonstrating that the generator or other machinery would not generate or have the potential to generate noise exceeding the limits mentioned above. A lot of folks have asked about this and what's required. I know we've had planners provide deficiencies or send back deficiencies for not hitting the benchmarks here. This is what they'll be reviewing for, so it is now in the guidance documents. We added some language about the artificial light management plan to hopefully assist in the same manner. If the applicant is using outdoor security lighting, artificial lighting for propagation, and or artificial lighting for cultivation, an artificial light management plan must be submitted. It must explain what actions the applicant will take to protect wildlife and comply with the county ordinance, which includes a statement that all lights used for indoor mist-site cultivation must be fully contained within the structures or otherwise shielded to fully contain light or glare involved in the cultivation process, so the lighting cannot escape the structures. For security lighting, we're asking that applicants explain what steps will be taken to ensure that the security lighting will not interfere with nocturnal wildlife. This might be motion sensors, maybe it's downcast and shielded, but it's really, what measures is the applicant taking to ensure that their security lighting is not interfering with nocturnal wildlife. Similarly, the bullfrog management plan language has been updated. What we're really looking for is for projects with an existing or proposed pond of any kind, whether it's on or off stream, whether it's rainwater catchment or fills some other way, we're requesting that the applicant provide a bullfrog monitoring and management plan that describes the implementation of the plan. So we're asking you to tell us how you're going to monitor for bullfrogs and then how you're going to eliminate bullfrogs, right? How are you going to manage that population? So we want to hear how you're going to do that on your property, and that's what needs to be in this bullfrog management plan. With the sensitive species habitat questionnaire, my apologies. If you've received a notice of violation from a state licensing authority, a local agency, or state agency, the notice of violation must be submitted. There's two places to do this. You can do it in the NOVs. You can also attach it to your sensitive species habitat questionnaire. We've seen it both ways. The questionnaire does suggest that you should attach them. So if you do that and then upload it all as one, that's great. That's fine. But there's also a place in the portal to upload individual violations. If you do it there as well, that's fine. If you just do it there, that's fine as well. So we didn't go back and make changes to the portal's functionality. So you're still going to have those options, but I just want you to know it is optional how you present these. You do have to present them if you have them. But you do have an option about how you present them. You can combine them with the sensitive species habitat questionnaire, or you can upload them individually in the upload section, or you can do both, right? It is absolutely fine. And then the relocation information, we have not changed. I have had a number of folks inquire about water availability analyses. The unfortunate piece on this is that the county does not have standards to provide back to the public at this time. Folks who are required to conduct water availability analyses, we will not be denying portal applications due to incomplete materials because someone does not have a water availability analysis that we cannot tell you what it needs. So we are working with other agencies and departments to try to provide the performance standard guidance that all of you deserve on this item. We do not have it yet, so it's still a request in the portal. If you have to upload a blank document, upload a blank document, but we will get performance standards out just as soon as we possibly have that information back from other agencies. So with that said, I think we should go ahead and go to comments. We are going to make time available to do future agenda items. So let's take comments. Just questions and comments for the next, 10, 15 minutes or so, and then we'll make an announcement for future agenda items. So we will try to break that out, I guess is my point here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this timer up. I'm going to reset it. And so if you would like to ask a question or make a comment, please do raise your hand. To raise your hand, you can utilize the hand raise feature in the toolbar located at the top or the bottom of your screen if you are utilizing a Zoom application. If you are calling in, raising your hand can be done by using the *9 feature. Wow, tongue-tied a little bit. Our first three callers are going to be Julia, followed by Chantal, followed by Monique Ramirez. And so with that said, we'll go ahead and Julia, you should be allowed to unmute your device. There you go. And you can start your comment or question.
Thank you, Kristen. This is in regards to the generator noise plan. In some of the deficiencies for generator noise plans, the question was, where did you obtain your information? And I just want to make sure that the information where it was obtained either through the manufacturer or on the internet through the manufacturer is going to suffice for that, or if we need something else. That is my question. And also in regards to describing how it's housed, we haven't had any deficiencies on that, but it might be a good thing to go over what that actually looks like.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and do this and pause this. So I think there's two pieces to like, where did you get your information from questions? So yes, we are accepting the manufacturer's specifications for the machine in question. So the manufacturer specifications should indicate how much noise is produced by that machine. But I think there's a second component. So if the machine emits 100 decibels of noise, just as an example here, what we need to also see is that it doesn't measure at 100 decibels of noise 50 feet away. So how did you get the information at 50 feet away, right? And I think you could say, you know, we took a measurement at 50 feet away utilizing this decibel reader app and came up with a decibel level of Y, right? So I would encourage that. There's a lot of decibel readers that you can just download that app feature onto your phone, and then you can do decibel readings at 50 feet, 100 feet. As far as how the machine is contained, that's going to depend on the machine itself. We do recognize that folks have portable little 2,000 watt, 1,500 watt Hondas that they carry around and use, you know, for an hour here or 3 hours over there, or whatever it might be for a week or 4 days over the course of the year. If you're in that situation where you have a portable generator, I think you're going to want to describe that in the generator management plan, generator machinery noise management plan, and then explain how you contain it. So it's generally stored in the shed identified as, I don't know, tool storage or egg and chemical storage, right, on my site plan. And then when I utilize it, I bring it over to where I'm utilizing it. I put it in a Rubbermaid container, fill it with fuel, run it for 2 hours. If I lean a piece of plywood against the muffler side of the generator and then measure at 50 feet away, the decibel rating is Y. I don't know, but I think it's going to be something along those lines is what you're going to want to do with it. And so I hope I got all of your questions. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next caller, who is going to be Chantal, followed by Monique Ramirez. So Chantal, I apologize. You should be able to unmute and start your comments.
Yes, good morning. Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yep, we've got you loud and clear.
Okay, super. Okay, great. So two questions or two topics of questions. The first one has to do with the ponds. Could you please go back over basically if the pond was installed pre-1174, what documentation is required? If the pond is installed post-1174, what documentation is required other than a pond exemption permit? Or is a pond exemption permit going to be required for ponds installed after that date? That's the first part of the pond question. The second one has to do with what if the assessor's record doesn't have any records of ponds? That is something that people have been running into for the last year, working through some of the planners. They've gone to the assessors, they've gotten the record, and there's no record of the pond on the assessor's record, even though the pond has been there and shows in aerial photographs. The second question has to do with NOAs. Could you please clarify which APNs need to be shown on the NOA? The Water Board standard is all APNs that have cultivation-related activities, so water source, storage, a structure, the cultivation site, each of those APNs should be enrolled. Mm-hmm. How is the county expanding that to cover all APNs within the legal parcel? If you could clarify what jurisdiction you have in order to make that stretch and whether or not that is actually what's required. Thanks.
Okay, I will do my best to respond to those questions. Okay, so first question, ponds. If you believe your pond was developed before January 1st of 1974, and you don't have a pond permit, which you wouldn't if it was developed prior to January 1st of 1974, and you can't find an assessor's parcel record showing that the pond existed prior to January 1st of 1974, I would suggest that you package the materials you do have and you submit them, and then we'll have to send them out for a referral to environmental health. We won't be determining what's needed next for that pond. Planning and building and environmental health will. And there are some instances where it just, I think Chantal is correct, where it just might not show on the assessor parcels record. There's just not much we can do about it except for gather up everything that we can get from the applicant and or their agent and then send it over for referral to let the other departments figure out if a permit is going to be needed retroactively or what the requirements are. That wouldn't be our department to determine any future requirements for that pond. Aerial photos, if you have some miraculous aerial photo that's time-stamped from prior to January 1st of 1974, feel free to submit it. I mean, absolutely, we'll take the information we can gather, but we need information because we have to have materials to refer. I can't just get a statement that says no pond permit is available. So please give us what you've got together. So we have information to refer to the other agencies, and that's how we would proceed with a pond that just does not have a permit and for some reason is not showing on assessor parcel records. Which APNs need to be in the NOA? APNs, all APNs where cannabis related activities are occurring. So if you've got cultivation activities associated with your cultivation application with us, and those activities are spanning multiple parcels, all of those parcels should be bundled into that NOA. We'll be looking at the NOAs to confirm that the APNs match what we have on file, and that if the site plan is showing multiple parcels, that all of those APNs are included in that NOA. We as a department are not going through and mandating or I don't know that I understand the legal parcel question, so to speak. If you have cannabis related activities on your neighboring parcels, we would want that parcel in the NOA. It doesn't necessarily have to do for us whether it's a legal parcel or not. It has to do with where cannabis-related activities are occurring, so, similar to the NOA requirements. So with that said, I'm going to encourage folks to please raise your hand if you do have comments. Our next caller is going to be Monique Ramirez, followed by David Perkin, and then I think we'll be able to take a caller or two more before we go to future agenda items. But let's just see how it goes. Our next caller, Monique Ramirez, you should be able to go ahead and start your comments.
Thanks, Kristen. In regards to the light management plan, I also put this question in the chat. Is it possible for you guys to upload an approved light management plan so applicants can use that as a reference? I'm helping somebody with theirs, and one of them got accepted on one of their applications, but then it was denied on another one. And so it would just be great to have some type of example that people could reference, and I think alleviate having to have it be denied again. And then I also just wanted to quickly ask if people have really specific questions for issues in their portal submission, could they go ahead and email you right now to maybe get clarification before the portal opens, just because we know we only have this one chance to make things right. And if it's a really specific thing to their application, don't want to take time asking those things right now. If you would be able to answer those questions offline. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So if you have questions about your portal checklist, we do recommend that you email the questions to cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org. We have had a number of questions come in where folks want us to pre-approve the materials that they're sending us. We're not doing pre-approvals, right? But we cannot do like pre-reviews of application materials. We will answer questions, but that's different than sending us a site plan and asking us to pre-approve your site plan. If you can address the deficiencies, you're going to move through the corrections portal. If you don't understand the deficiency, please ask us that question. But we don't have the capacity to pre-review your deficiencies to make sure that they will make it through the next round of the portal. But again, if you have questions about the deficiencies, what it's asking for, please do email cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org. I can ask County Council about sample management plans. I can say that that's not going to be quick for us to get up. I don't even know where to pull samples from. I would have to go through and open and close a bunch of files to find light management plans that have been approved. So it's not something that we could move on in a very timely fashion. But sample materials, I understand, would be helpful. It's just a very time-consuming task to try to get those materials together. And I just don't think that we have the ability to move on that very quickly currently with everything that's on our plate. We have a couple more folks that have raised their hand. I would like to get through the next round of folks who have their hands raised before we go to future agenda items. So we'll hear from Dave Perkins, followed by Chantal, followed by Hannah Nelson. Mr. Perkins, you should be able to unmute your device and start your comment. David Perkins, you can unmute your device and start your comment. Okay, I'm hearing no comment. I'm going to go ahead and move to our next caller, who is Chantal, followed by Hannah Nelson. Chantal, you should be able to unmute your device and start your comment.
Yeah, thanks for taking me a second round. I appreciate it. My question regarding the ponds, you did an awesome job. Thank you so much for answering really clearly what will work potentially for the pre-1174 existence of a pond, but you didn't address the post-1174 pond situation. So if there's a pond on the parcel and it's used for cultivation irrigation, and it was installed after 1174 and it doesn't have a pond exemption permit or a grading permit because those permits weren't in existence, or if they were in existence but they didn't obtain one, what is the required documentation in order to avoid the whole PBS and EH process down the road? Like, should they go ahead now and get a pond exemption permit is the question.
Yes, they should. Yes. And I'm sorry for not addressing that, but yes, you should move forward with submitting a pond exemption permit to PBS. And then you could just submit what you submitted, right? So if you have that and then a receipt showing that it's active, that they're processing it, that would be great. Once it's submitted to Planning and Building Services, theoretically, we should be able to see it and track it. So we should be able to confirm that it's active, but sometimes there's lag time between an applicant submitting and then it getting uploaded into the tracking system that we share. So I apologize for interrupting you, Chantal. Do you have additional questions or?
Not at this time. No, thank you so much, Kristen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next caller is going to be Hannah Nelson. Hannah, you should be able to go ahead and unmute your device and begin your comments or questions.
Thank you so much. You understandably said that you couldn't pre-review things like site plans, but for items that there's some unclear description of what could or could not constitute sufficient proof or requirements, some of the issues that you were talking about earlier that, well, you'd have to submit what you got and we'd have to look at it. Would you be able to do pre-reviews of those items, or are you going to not then issue denials if people made an attempt to provide sufficient documents, even if they weren't one of the specified items? And I'm not talking about like a particular water board item or something, but some of the other issues that you were talking about in terms of not having clear standards yet. And then also, will there be another round of some of the checklists went through multiple rounds of review. Will there be another round of review of checklists, and how do people know that they are addressing the most recent concerns? And really what I mean by that is, you know, people didn't get with their portal eligibility letters the last checklist that was provided. And so I'm wondering if that's going to be sent out, and that if there were inconsistencies between checklist reviews in terms of sufficiency of items provided, will that then lead potentially to another determination other than the last one? And I'm sorry, I didn't articulate that very well, but if the last review had a green, is it possible that it could turn to a red again later? Okay, great. Thank you for that. So we are not sending out another round of checklists. The checklist that you last received, right, for your last submission is the checklist that we have. We haven't gone back and re-reviewed checklists. Unless, of course, we've had the applicant and or the agent question the checklist and the deficiency, then we've gone back and opened up those files. But in all of those instances where we've opened up a file to confirm whether or not a deficiency should have been marked a deficiency, we have communicated back to the applicant or agent requesting the re-review of that material and or the questions answered. And any updated checklist was then sent to the applicant and the agent during that time. It is not, it's not really feasible for us to turn around and send out 300 plus checklists when we did the notifications as a matter of time, but everyone does have them. If for some reason you can't find your last checklist, you should definitely email cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org and say, listen, I am in need of my last checklist. Will items that were green on someone's checklist possibly turn red? It is totally possible. So
please do not change files that you don't need to correct, because if we had a completed, accepted application for your cultivation license or your cultivation permit with us, and then we get your corrections portal and there's no longer a cultivation application, but there's 2 cult and ops plans, you're going to get a deficiency for the cultivation application. When every time you submit your portal application to us, it generates a brand new file, and all we receive is what's in that submission. So changing documents and making errors where we suddenly have 3 employee lists and no structures list and no application is going to generate deficiencies. And so that's really important. Make sure that you're doing your best to really manage those files and make sure that you've only uploaded what is needing to be changed, okay? It's hugely important. So let's do a lightning round of future agenda items. We're at 9:58. I'm gonna set the timer to 1 minute so we can get through our lightning round. We have, I see Dave Perkins, your hand is still up. So I'm gonna go to you, and then we'll go to Chantal, and then to Julia, and we're going to do 1 minute lightning round of future agenda items. So Dave Perkins, you should be able to unmute your device and go ahead and make your comment if you are still on the line with us. Mr. Perkins, can you hear us? Do you want to unmute your device and provide a comment? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and lower Mr. Perkins' hand for him. And our next caller will be Chantal, followed by Julia. So Chantal, you have the floor.
Great, thanks, Kristen. Okay, I'll just say, I think as of right now, another meeting about the portal would be a fantastic next agenda item, like for next week. Your last comment about not submitting materials that don't have a red X, but in the reviewer column, there's often a lot of comments where there's a green check. How are we to address those ambiguous comment next to a green check? Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm going to address that right now. If there's comments next to a green check, those are internal notes for us. We are not expecting you to address them currently. Only address items that have a red check deficiency. Maybe we should clarify that on the website. Because it really is important that you don't start changing a bunch of materials unless you absolutely have to correct a deficiency. And again, if the item is green, we are not expecting you to submit additional materials. There may be review notes in your checklist, and that's fine. We will communicate any questions we have with the applicant regarding a green check mark with review notes when that application is completed and it comes under review by the final planner to review it. So I think we might need to clarify that on the website. Checks with review notes. Great question. And our next caller is going to be Julia, and then we'll try Dave Perkins again. Julia, you should be able to go ahead and unmute your device, and if you would go ahead and start.
Thank you, Kristen. To lead this new department with their new desks and their new staff, a mission statement, Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Appreciate that brief but poignant comment. Okay, our next caller will try to get Mr. Perkins on the line here again. So Dave, you should be able to unmute. We've got you.
All right, can you hear me?
We got you. Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. I really apologize. I asked this question earlier, but the Zoom cut out on me. What would be needed to be done to change or modify a cultivation license to increase canopy size on a property that is zoned to have a larger canopy?
Yeah, would you please email that question to cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org? You do not need to reapply through phase 3. We can work with you to conduct a modification if your parcel qualifies for what you are asking for. So just email cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org.
Okay, and how long should I wait for a response, just so I don't overwhelm you guys?
14 to 20 days. We are right now about 10 days behind. I know that that's painful, but we're getting a high volume of email traffic and trying to get back to everyone.
Okay, so long as the property is zoned to have a larger permit, it's possible.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will take one last caller. Hannah Nelson, I see that your hand is raised. So we'll go ahead and let me see here. I got to do a little housekeeping. We'll allow you to speak and then we'll close the webinar. Hannah, you should be able to unmute currently and give us your suggestion for future agenda items.
Modification process and
Hannah, I think you cut out. I heard modification process and then we heard nothing further.
Oh, sorry, fees. Particularly when fees are going to be charged for submitting modifications, whether applicants as opposed to permit holders will be charged for modifications, and then what the standards are for determining whether a modification fee will apply, whether it's an applicant or a permit holder. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, everyone, I want to thank everyone for joining today and sending your questions, telling us your questions and your comments. And I won't be with you next week, but William will be. So I hope you all have a fabulous weekend, and we look forward to our next meeting with everyone. Okay, take care, everyone. We're going to close this.